Alright, I am back streaming live. It is Tuesday, February the 5th, 2019. It's almost 5 minutes past 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I am continuing on the series of the PSMekBuilder, which is a opinionated module builder. And I realized when I'm doing that, I needed to actually reinvent some of the pieces of publish module from the PowerShell get module. And so we've kind of taken a sidetrack here and we're working on another module called PSPublish helper. So when I left off the stream last time, I had got this started and I decided to make some changes to it a little bit. So this is our main public function that we've got so far is publish PS module nugget. And this command's going to create a nubkeg file, and that way you can store that nubkeg and you can publish it manually to PowerShell Gallery or your internal module feeds or whatever you want to do. Basically, the entire point of this is to enable a build once, deploy many paradigm for PowerShell modules, which is currently not supported because they are kind of built and then packaged and then sent off like in multiple pieces. So it's kind of hard to know like which code is what. It's possible that you're dealing with multiple packages because publish module would, if you were to use it against multiple repositories, would actually create a different package every time. So it's possible that the file hashes are going to be different and all that stuff. So it's kind of hard to validate that you're doing the right thing. So I just want to be able to create the nubkeg file by itself. So that's what we were doing here. That's what I got started on. All the parameters in there. I made one change here from the code that we had before in this first block, where if we're doing a name and version, so if they do publish module NuGet and they provide a name and a required version, as opposed to just passing in a module, which you could do like get module and pass in that directly into this. But if you wanted to just supply a name and a version, then that's supported. But there's some code that we had to do to actually do that. So I moved this off to a private function because there's a bunch of logic there that I thought was kind of ugly. So let's see, resolve PS module. This is the one. So it takes in the commandlet. This is a trick that I like to use quite a bit. You send the PS commandlet, so like this, PS commandlet. You pass that into this commandlet, and that way you can use the methods on it to make certain calls, and we'll see how that works here in a little bit. But we're passing in commandlet the name of the module and the required version. And we do some checks here. One thing that I wanted to support was I wanted to be able to support something like this. So publish NuGet, publish, what is this? PS modules, publish PS module, NuGet. I wanted to support like name equals my module, and then version our required version, 1.2.0 beta 3. So I want to be able to support something like that. So I wanted to support the pre-release versioning in case like you're doing a pre-release of the module and you're building it and you want to package it. That's something that's not really supported natively in the like get module commandlet, which is what we need to do. So what I've kind of done here is I've done some logic to kind of find the right module from the available modules. So we basically split the required version on the dash, so that would split it between 1.20 and beta 3, and then we can do a filter later where we do the version to string, make sure that equals version, and also check to see if the they're doing some maintenance here in my building, and some pretty loud banging in the background if it's audible or not. But doing some pre-release checks here to see if it's the right pre-release version as well. Technically, like you could have multiple versions of the module available in your PS module path with different pre-release available. That's something that is possible, so I want to make sure that we filter for that possibly. So that's the code there to actually get the module, and then if there's not a result, we create an error record and we actually use the calling command to actually throw that. And if you don't supply a command in here, it's got some logic here to use its own PSMekBuilder so that we're kind of covered on our bases and can throw a terminating error whether we're trying to use this directly or whatever. So that was that change to the to this code. It made it much cleaner. It got a lot of logic out of here. So since this module is kind of, not module, but this function is kind of like a function that glues together a bunch of functions, I'd rather have as little logic as possible, as little like error checking, all that kind of stuff. I'd rather that be offloaded into private modules, because like if you look at the source code that we're kind of copying from in here, like it's a beast. There's a lot of stuff, there's a lot of error checking, there's a lot of logic, there's a lot of ifs, there's a lot of all of this, right? That's painful to read through. In my opinion, it's better to break that out and move that behind different modules, different functions to handle that. So each function is kind of responsible for a single responsibility. So they only do one thing, and then this function kind of ties together a bunch of ones that do one thing. So its one thing is to tie together some modules that do one thing, so it shouldn't do any kind of logic or checking itself, right? So the next thing that I was working on was resolving the PS data. There was one thing that I missed on this, so resolve PS data. We actually need to get the pre-release off of the PS data. So this is from the module info. We pull in this. We basically check to see if what was provided. So if I do this tags here, and I did like A, B, right? It's going to check to see that if this tags was supplied, it supersedes what's in the module's private data, because we're supplying it on the command line as kind of an override. So we want to use that, and that's kind of what this logic is doing, but we also need to return the pre-release from this, so I've gone ahead and just added that there. So all I had to do is do null, and then this check, it's going to automatically apply the pre-release if it's present in the module's manifest. So then I moved into the next phase that I did off screen. I needed to do some of this work independently, mostly because I was traveling. I didn't have good internet connection to stream, and there was a lot of work involved in this, and I needed to be a little bit more productive with it and not stream all of it. So unfortunately, you don't get to see the thought process behind all this, but it will go through what was done. So resolve PS modules tags is responsible for building the text inside of a module tag. Let me see if I've got one of these open. Yeah, so here are the tags inside of the PSMekBuilder's new spec file. So this is what gets put in. And if you look in the PowerShell gallery on a module, so if we do like we do PSMekBuilder, just to kind of show what happens here. The tags here get applied like that, right? And it's in the new spec file that the gallery actually pulls that from. So if we look at another module that's actually something more robust, if we go back to VS Code, I've got another one of these open. The configuration module is a good example here. It's if you look at its tags, it's got some stuff in here like PS module, PS includes function, PS function export configuration, all these things, and also PS command, all of these as well. And if we look at the configuration module on the gallery, and you look at the package details here, you can see that their tags are there, and those tags are also present in there as well, but the functions that are exported are listed here as well. And so we're supporting kind of the same thing on our side. The only thing is that I'm refusing to support star. I think that's kind of a bad idea. This is meant for modules that give a damn, so I'm not going to support like just star there. It doesn't make any sense. So, but these are interpreted inside of the PS NuGet file as like the PS function. So PS function convert from metadata, maps over to this convert from metadata link right here on functions. And hi, Brett. So that's kind of what happens under the hood, but and PS publish PS module does that for you, right? Like it determines all these things. So that's the next piece of code that we're working on here. The resolve module tags. Oh man, UK crowd making a show tonight. Nice. Hey Ryan. So resolve PS module tags, you pass in the module info and tags. So these are the tags that would be supplied from the command line, if present. So the first thing we're doing is we're creating a hash set with tags. They can't be repeated anyways, so just using a hash set to kind of ensure that they're unique. So first thing we do is we add all those tags that are passed in if there were any. Next thing we do is we got the PS module tag. This is only going to support modules for the time being. We're not going to support the script publishing. So at some point in time that might have to be adjusted, but this is called resolve PS module tags. So we can deal with that later in a different function or something. But next thing we need to do is get the commandlets, functions, DSC resources, and roles, and also command. So commandlets are the compiled C# commandlets, obviously. Uh, if one is present, the PS includes commandlet gets added, and then the filter on the search up here. So if I do like search for this commandlet, if I check this, it would make sure that there was a commandlet available. So that's what that does. And there's a similar toggle for functions as well. And those are the script functions in native PowerShell. And then command, this gets exported for all functions and commandlets. So every single function and every single commandlet does this. I believe aliases show up here too, because they're technically exported commands. But the next thing is the DSC resources. So if this is a DSC resource module, it would add the PS includes DSC resource, and this get exported DSC resource private function is called. And this is stolen mostly from the PowerShell get module. It's a private function that they have in there. I just kind of made their code fit the way that I like to do code. It's primarily what I did here. And I took out a bunch of logic that wasn't necessary as well. So it's a little bit cleaner. But the essence is that it's doing some work to see if there's some commands available and using those. If not, it does some other kind of parsing for it. And it's basically screwing with the PS module path to make only certain... Very diplomatic. I'm not gonna lie, like, another reason why I didn't stream a lot of this work is just the amount of, like, pure vitriol coming out of my mouth when I'm working on PowerShell get. So yeah, they're basically like screwing with the PS module path so that it just includes the module and the Windows PS Home, and then it is doing some checks using get DSC resource. I don't know enough about DSC resource to know how good or not this is, but this is their code, and it's essentially the same thing that theirs is doing. And I tested it with some modules that export DSC resources, and it seems to work. So I guess this is right. But the going back, so that's one. The next thing is tags. The next thing is the role capabilities, and this is something that Chris helped me out with by publishing a fake module or a dummy module to the gallery so that we could make sure that this works. But apparently for GIA, you can publish modules with a role capability. I didn't even know that that was a thing, that you could do it in a module form. But I had to create yet another private function, and that too was mostly stolen from the PowerShell get repository, just fixed to my own stuff. And there were some interesting things, like they were taking the name of the files. So basically, there's some PSRC files in a role capabilities folder underneath the module, and they were just looking for those and trying to get the name of the file without the extension. And they had like get the name. They were basically getting the name of the file and then getting the file without the extension. It was like the base name is there, so I just kind of shortened this up a little bit here, trimmed it up a little bit. Yeah. So that's the tags, and it takes that list then, that hash set, and just joins them with a space so that we get a space separated list. So we can actually like play with this. I think I have it in my path here. Let me hide this. get this up here. I think I have it imported into my session already, so I can play with it. And if I do like get module configuration, I need to do list available. List available, configuration, mods equal, and I do mods isn't, configuration. There we go. It creates these, and I can also add some tags to it to do some stuff. So you'll see that the la 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 tag is added to it as well. So it's going through and it's getting all the different functions and commands and all that good stuff. So that's what it returns. It's just a string with that. I was starting with the assumption that would kind of follow the same model that they're doing in their published PS artifact utility. So in there, if I get down to here, they basically have an XML format. Some kind, it's a little weird. But this is so I was thinking about following this, but then I got some good information this morning from Brett about this. If I have it open, I probably don't. There we go. This from Chris Denton about doing kind of the same thing, creating the new spec, and he's using XML to do it. And I think that that's probably cleaner, except when I was getting to the next part where I got kind of, maybe that won't work. And I'll show you why. So the next piece of the code here that I was working on is this dependency text. So the idea is that this would go into the tags area, this would go into the dependencies area of it. So this code in their module is pretty rough. It's buried in several private functions that I didn't copy down. It gets fired off above here, where they do get module dependencies, and then they also come down here and they convert that into the XML that's going to be done. So I've kind of split that off into several private functions. First of which is get module dependency, which takes in a module info, and I had to you have to do a couple things. So you have to actually get the data, the manifest data, because the module info doesn't include like minimum, maximum version, required version, that kind of stuff. It only includes the actual modules that were imported when you import the module. It only includes the required modules that were imported at the time. So it doesn't give you any information about the required version or anything, which you need to include inside the new spec, so that the gallery knows and NuGet knows what modules to get for all of this stuff. So I have to pull in that based off the modules path, and basically the first thing I do is I do resolve PS module info off of the required modules, because we're going to need the required modules regardless. So resolve PS module info then is basically converting that data into a module specification with some caveats. So the stars aren't universally supported on different platforms, so we have to convert the stars to 999. So what we do is, if the input object has a maximum version, and this is the only place on module spec that star is supported, if it has maximum version and maximum version has a star, we replace it with 999, and we get a module spec. So just kind of show what this looks like. I would have to do mods. I should clear. Actually, I should do this and then raise this up and then clear that way. And I should spell clear right too. All right, so input object is mods 0 dot required. I don't think this one has any required modules. Yeah, it's empty. So that one's not going to work. Let me look at the test code that I have up here. Yeah, so just doing mods equals get module list available, something that has required modules, just so we get some interesting data. Then if I resolve this, oh, that's right. Mods 0 dot required resolve. Okay. I have to do it from the oh, yeah. That's right. I can't do this one very easily because you have to have the manifest version of it. Anyways, we're just going to assume that that's working. I tested it. It's working. Just can't demo it very easily. But I guess I could do it this way. So like if we have test or my module, just do that, and pipe it into resolve PS module info, we get back that if it has a hash table that has module name. So this is just like the module spec that you see inside of required modules. And then we'll do required version equal 1.0.0. You see that, and then if I do version, which stands for minimum version, that's so poorly named, 1.0.0. It's minimum version, right? Should just be version, my module version. Yeah, that's it, module version, and then maximum version equals, let's do 1.0 point star. So it replaces the star with the bunches of nines, with the assumption that no one's going to do more than that many numbers in a version part, which is probably a poor assumption, but whatever. This is also stolen from their code. I took this comment directly from it, and I just kind of really simplified this down to do that. So going back to tags, not tags, dependency. So it's I basically am just outputting that directly, so I get a bunch of module specifications into the pipeline. So the next thing I do is I do the same thing with the nested modules, but instead of setting it to the pipeline, I need to capture that. The reason why is that a nested module doesn't become a dependency unless it's not published with the module. And I didn't even know this. So you can use module spec inside of nested module, and say that you have nested modules that are not actually included inside your module source code. And the difference being that required modules are loaded in the calling scope and nested modules are loaded into the module scope. So you could actually have module spec in there to load somebody else's module, and it would be loaded into the module scope instead of the calling scope, which is something I didn't know. But this does complicate things because we have to look through the nested modules that are listed, and we have to do that in the actual like module info, like get module on that module, right? And look to see what the dependencies are on them, and the nested module dependencies rather. We have to see whether they have a path, whether they're underneath that same module thing, and whether or not it exists or not. So these, if it meets these criteria, then it's one that we need to care about. So we need to capture the name for that, and then we take that nested module info that we did before, and we're just only getting the ones that have the matching name. I could probably move this down here and pipe all of this into one thing instead, but I was kind of translating from their code. Yeah, I didn't know that this was something that could be done at all with the nested modules. Ugh. I have to say that, like, I am very much not a fan of nested modules at all. Just a quick gripe about them. They make more problems than they solve, I think. It's the same problem as like the fact that classes aren't exported to the calling scope when they probably should be. PowerShell classes, because if you have classes defined inside a DLL, oh, those get put into the calling scope because they have to be. But anyway, so going back to, that was the end of the module dependency. So we're basically like resolving all the dependencies that are as their module specification. And then we're going to pipe those module specifications into format module dependency. So I took their code and modified it so that, you see I was debugging earlier. It was not giving me the right versions for things, but you passed in a module specification, and the it does some formatting to basically determine the type of module. So new spec uses these different formats to say certain things. So this is documented from the PowerShell get. I stole it from them directly, but I heavily modified what they were doing. So since I'm using the module specification, they were using some kind of hash table they were formulating, and they were doing some checks like, if the input is a hash table, do these checks. If it's a string, do these checks. I was like, I can just do that with the module specification. So kind of cut some steps out there. But yeah, so if the required version, the version needs to be in square brackets. The minimum version doesn't need to be in any kind of brackets. when there's only a maximum version. So we're saying like, don't do anything higher than 1.0 or whatever. It has to have this format, and then when you have both a minimum and maximum, it has to have this format. So that's what this logic down here is doing. It probably could be cleaned up even more, but I think it's decent enough. So if they have the required version, do this one, so on and so forth. And we're basically just creating a version string, and then we check to see if that version string gets set. And if not, we just do the module name, because it's totally legit to do a module as just its name, right? And whatever is available so long as you have a module with that name. Oddly enough, the new spec doesn't have anything about the module GUID or anything like that. So that must mean that install module and import module actually handle the whole making sure the GUID matches, and it's not part of the actual repository requirements. But anyways, if it does have a version, we need to attach this version piece. And I didn't have enough time, but I could probably read up on the new spec and see there might be a way to normalize this so that, like, if version's empty, maybe it always works the same as like this. I don't know. But regardless, I kept their logic and just made it a little cleaner. They had a whole bunch of like what are they called? Sub-expression interpolation in here, and I don't like that. I prefer -f. To me, it makes it a little cleaner what I'm inserting into the string and what it's going to look like. Yeah. The GUIDs don't matter in NuGet at all, but I just thought that was kind of interesting, calling that out for anyone who was curious. So in the module, in the publish PS module NuGet, what I'm doing is I'm basically creating the dependency text by taking the module, importing it to piping it to resolve module dependency and piping that to format module dependency, and then joining it with the new line character. So if I do just execute this line, we see that we get one there, PS string template dependency. I don't even know what module that is. Mods 0. Let me pick a random one here. Yeah, so that one's actually doing package management. I don't think that too many of them actually have multiple dependencies, but you get the picture. It takes in a module and spits out the XML for it. And I was thinking about how I could make that work with the actual XML thing, and I decided that I don't know, I could probably do it with the format module dependency, but I'd have to pass in the XML object. I don't know. I'm not very good at this whole XML thing. So I was just like, all right, I'll just stick to the string interpolation because there's kind of a lot of work involved into figuring that out. So anyways, that's where we're at now on this. So the next stage on this, according to their code, is to actually build out this new spec file. So what I was doing was I was actually making this a more full-bodied module, and I need the PSM1 because I want this to be a script, variable. So a module scoped script variable. And I want to also change this into some things here. So before I do that, I need to kind of work on this in two places. So let me see if I can open this on the side, save it. It's going to be a little ugly, but it's fine. So the new spec thing here, I'm gonna have to clean this up as I go, but in the thing here, I want to do new spec contents equal script new spec should do this as a capital letter -F, and put the stuff in here that we need. So first thing we're going to do is this get escaped string. Let's see what that does. I need to look that up on theirs. I'm pretty sure that that's not in here. I'm pretty sure that's inside their module code. Hyper sophisticated way of doing this. Oh, well, that's simple. It's calling a system security element escape. What is that? I don't even know what that is. System security element? Is that how you escape XML? That's weird. I don't even know what that does. Let's find out. I bet this would be some kind of... There we go. All right, so I guess that's a handy one. Something tells me that this is better. I'll probably have to wrap all this behind another private function, but for now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to steal that private function. It's a good idea. Rather than calling the raw .NET on it every time, we'll just copy this, judiciously reimagine their code. So under the private, we'll create a get escaped string ps1. I don't know if that's what they called it. Yeah, I remembered it. Ampersand. What about the ampersand, Brett? I guess while I'm waiting for delay to catch up and you answer, I'll continue on this. So one thing that I want to do is I want to take this value from pipeline. Yeah, I didn't know that this even existed. I don't know that I care about having, I disagree with their names. This is what a lot of my stuff has been, just like I disagree with their name. So, and their formatting. So that's what the majority of my stuff has been. But now we've got something that can actually take some pipeline input. Five HIBK. Oh. Oh. I totally missed Thomas entering the room. My bad. Yeah. I'm reinventing the wheel over here, Thomas. Still on this. So I know Brett and Thomas know about this, but I'll just share it for the stream for everyone to know. Earlier this week, actually last week, they released a new version of package management module, and it broke all of our builds. And we sat down afterwards and we had a discussion post-mortem on all of this, and the decision was made that we are 100% moving away from PowerShell get. So we are not going to use any commands in package management or PowerShell get in any of our pipelines going forward at work. And that wasn't just my decision, that was a team decision. So even my own. So this one was the name of the module. I believe I get that from input object.name. And important thing to do if you are using format strings is to ensure that you actually use commas in the array definition, because this will often interpret nulls, null results of commands as nothing and not an entry in the array, and as a result you'll be off on your indexes. Version. This is a string. Let's see what it says. It's a version object, so I need to make it to a string. I hope that works. Let me see what they do with version inside of their code. I'm a little paranoid. They might have done something that I wrote off as silly. It's hard to tell in like their massive amount of code. Man, they're doing straight as a version. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I don't think that I did this piece at all. This is why I needed to get the pre-release. All right. I'm glad I'm paranoid. So let's save this, close out the side for a second and go and do some more code in here. So I need another function to resolve version. And this one will be returning a string. And I need to take in a PS module info. And I'm using module inside of this as a it's kind of a rule. The PS-get uses PS module info as the name, and I think that that's a little rough to have over and over again. And I also need to take in a hash table. Oh, nope. Sad. Why is that not showing up? This is PS data. Only spelled better. All right. So they're doing some logic in their code to determine the version. I'm not doing that. I'm going to trust that people know how to put their versions in properly. It'll fail for me. I don't need to test all this stuff. There it is. So this does some checks to see string version. If not, okay. So basically we need to look to see if a pre-release is on that PS data, and if not, we will be doing this. So here we go. Version equal string module dot version, and then if PS data dot pre-release and this was the part where they do some logic here to look to see if it's starts with a dash, and if not, not new. V dot starts with. Is that right? Like if I have a string, it's starts with, yeah. Then we want version equal I guess trying to think of the best way to do this. Their logic wasn't great either, but mine's turning out to be kind of atrocious. Okay, so they assign pre-release. I guess I can do that. That's fine. Basically, they assign the pre-release to a string if it exists, and then they nest some more logic in there. That's fine. Well, the thing is, like, if they version it wrong, then the NuGet pack will automatically fail. So I don't need to check that. If they version it to something that the gallery won't support, then it'll fail when they try to publish to the gallery. The problem with enforcing specific versioning on this and versioning semantics is that, yeah, the PS gallery doesn't support certain types of strings inside the pre-release version that are totally legal in NuGet v2. So I don't want to deal with that mess. If I want to host this in my own repository and have no plans to do it in PS Gallery, I don't want to live by PS Gallery rules. So that's kind of the thing here. You don't know my life, PS Gallery. So if pre-release starts with yeah. Oh god, I hate this word, pre-release. This is one of those words that I misspell all the time. I hate this word. Parameter is the other one. Like, I can never spell that right. This starts with, what did they use to do this? I'm being lazy, stealing their code. Oh. Oh. Problem was that all my occurrences were different. I didn't just misspell it the same way every time. Oh. Okay, so then I just need to spit out version at the end here. I don't know. That's a little ugly, but whatevs. Also, I don't feel like reassigning this is a little... I don't know. I guess it's cleaner. I'll leave it like that. Alright. I did this in end. Yeah, resolve. Okay, we're back to our module here, and pass this in with, put this in my module input object and PS data, which I resolved up there. This one needs to be... Can you pipe inside of a... I think you can. Oh, resolve PS module version to resolve to get escape string. That's definitely ugly. Anyways, back to open that on the side. And going back to PSM1 here. We're off on that tangent. Created yet another thing there. Authors. So this can be in here as... Let me just double check this. Okay, good. I guess you can't, I guess it's a semicolon you can't do inside of the, I can never remember. I'm not a big fan of sub-expressions. They pay off here though, unfortunately. So this one is the author. No completion. That's sad. Place this with 2. Company name. Owners? That's weird. It's weird that they're using the company name as owners, but I guess that makes sense. I don't know. Maybe they do some logic that I missed where they check to see if the company name is empty and they apply the author to it. Let me just double check inside their code. Yeah, no. Okay, that's fine. We'll return to PSM1 here. Close this out. So the next one is description. Might have a better idea for this, but I'll hold off on that. So next one is release notes. Zero, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, good. Just making sure that I'm not lost anything. Require license acceptance. ToString. This is fun. They have all kinds of code to make sure that the license exists and that it's there and then blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, no, I don't care. Like, let's just put this out there. But I might have to do some work here because it looks like they put some logic. This is one thing that I don't like about... Don't put logic inside of a what's basically a format, right? Like, this is a template. It shouldn't have logic in it. Do your logic elsewhere and fill in the template. But I guess some of this is not exactly... And some of this is also being done just because they don't have that. Right. I'll show you how I deal with some of this stuff inside of mine. Require license acceptance is... Where does that come from? Because it's not on the module. It should be in the manifest. I'll have to see. Night, Brett. Sleep well. Catch you on the VOD. So let's see where this is at in their code. So I went false. They set it to false by default. What do they do? So if it has that, then it does true. Okay. Alright, so I basically need to resolve that. Fun. Trying to think of a good way to do this. They do this in a weird spot. I was trying to avoid the whole license acceptance thing. I can't just do ToString on it. Because I'd have to do a test for existence. It's a good case for another resolve command, but this seems like a real waste. Where would I put this at? I guess this does deserve its own logic. But I'm going to make it a little more if I do bool false, they do toString to lower. Yes. I think I can cheat on this. Just because of the way PowerShell is. Yep. If I do bool on null, does it screw up here? Awesome. All right, so I can basically, yeah, license agreement is rarely used. As far, I've never seen anything that actually required a license agreement from the gallery, although I have seen third-party modules that are not on the gallery that do have this turned on, which is entertaining. The third party will say, like, they'll give you like a download or something like that, and they'll say install module and point to the thing, and that'll initiate the license stuff. I don't know, it's weird. I think for a while the VMware one required license, right? License acceptance. Anyways, it looks like I can cheat on this a bit. But I think that I need to take in something in my PS data object as well that I was not looking at before. So what was that called? Require license acceptance. That's fun. All right, so this will ensure that our PS data has a, I guess I can set this as false. No, I should do it as null. Need to follow the other ones on that one. All right, so that will ensure that that's on my PS data object, and then I can do PS data dot require license acceptance dot toString to lower I need a bool on it. Ugh, this is so ugly. All right. And just in case somebody is crafty and wants to put something other than the true or false in there or whatever, we'll just make sure. Like, I don't even see a reality in which this is possible, but I'll do it anyways. No harm, no foul. All right. Going back into the PSM one. Yeah. No! Not that one. Up here. And change this. To 6. Yep. copyright. I don't think there's anything special about that one, so it's like this one. These all need commas. And this should be copyright. This is now 7. All right, if tags do that. So I already fixed this, so I can just put tags in here with escape string. So tags, text, get escape string. Yeah, I definitely see a pattern and a whole bunch of repeated code here that needs to be killed. We'll refactor my own code after I clean this up. 8. So if license URL, add that. So I need to look and see how they do this. So it is determined from that. Do they do any other stuff with it? No, that's an error message if it doesn't exist and you require a license, which I don't care about. It'll fail NuGet pack if the license URI is not included in the require license agreement is set to true. So I'm not worried about that at all. Okay. So my way of dealing with this one is to take so this should be on PS data, right? Make sure I'm putting this in my resolve PS data. Yes, I am. Okay, so PS data dot license URI. So this one needs some actual logic to it, which is why this won't necessarily work. I would have to do it up here. I'm going to do it outside of this. I'm going to end up copying and pasting this off into another function because this is a lot to put inside of this like glue together one. And I don't want to do any logic in here, and there's definitely some logic and some transformation that should not exist inside this function. So we'll move it out, but we'll create it in here first. So license URI text equal if this is license URL. Control V, 0. Control V. Close it. F of PS data license URI to get escape string. Yep. So basically that only sets the license URI text to be anything if there is something in it. So then we can just do this down here and replace all of this with 9. We'll have similar for project URI. Project URI. Let's see what's. Just make sure that I'm using the right. Yep, project URI. Project URL, because no one can be consistent on whether you use URL or URI in any kind of things. Should just copy and paste that entire block. Project URI text gets put in there. Replace this entire thing with 10. And we'll do the same thing for icon URI, so we'll learn our lesson from last time and icon and icon. All right, and just make sure that I've got that one in the PS data. Yep. Icon URI text down here. And replace this with 11. And then dependencies is the dependencies text. All right, so just make sure I've got my counts right. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, so that will fill this in. This is a lot kind of cleaner to see, but this also put a ton of logic and formatting inside of here. So what I need to do is I need to have a get new spec contents. I guess that's what I'll call it. Private function in here. And I'm gonna save this, close this, get out of this crazy mode for a while. All right, I'm gonna step away for just 1 minute and I will be right back. All right, I am back, and we'll continue working on get new spec contents. So this will be returning a string. There we go. So we take in a couple of things in this, and if I look at this, we need to take in the input object so we can get some of this stuff off of here, the PS data object, so we can get some other stuff off of it. We could probably move the entire tags and dependency text underneath it. So yeah, we need the module info, the PS data, and I think that's it, because everything else is derived from those two things. So we'll simplify this a lot by moving a lot of this logic around. Module info, PS module info, I think, right? I'm calling the module in this module, and then I need a hash table. I just want the type. PS data. So what we need to do inside of this get new spec contents is to first we're going to do the entire work of getting the tags text. So we can move this out to it. This is even wrong. I'm not even passing in. And this one I'm using PS module. I'll have to fix some of this stuff, but yeah, this is wrong. This should be module. But we'll fix it inside here. So this will send in the, so we'll create the tags text and dependency text. Instead of input object, it's going to be module. And then save this, go back into here and remove these lines. Module input object. I don't screw up my typing. PS data, and I want to fix this on resolve PS data. Instead of taking in PS module info, I want to call it module. Let me just make sure I don't have, yeah. I'm using that everywhere else except for this one spot here. So we'll change that. I can actually cut this out and paste this in here, remove this. So still a lot of this code here that I'd like to clean up. I can do that for the first need to replace this in here with module first. Yeah, so I think that what I'll do is I'll create the Module name. Just trying to think of a good way to do this, but I think no matter what way it's going to be ugly just because there's mixed stuff here. I'm going to move this out and do this as version text. Author, company name, description, release notes, call this require license acceptance text equal shoot. I missed putting the version text in here. No, it's there. Require my current thinking is that I'm going to take all the ones that need to be escaped, which happen to be luckily at the beginning of the array, transform them, and then text. Yeah, so I cannot escape the license URI text because it includes the stuff there. Cannot do project URI, so these ones are all the ones I can do. So what I'm thinking is that I can get escape string on these. And it should return an array of these strings. And I have to do some things that I'm not proud of after the fact. I can probably do this, which is hilarious. And then these ones. Yeah, I knew that was going to complain. Let's do this. I think I have to do that one like that. We'll see. Format, arguments. Wow, how is this? Come on. Keep hitting the caps lock. Format, arg. And then there's no way this works right, but one can hope. I think that's just not going to work. I'm trying to avoid doing plus equals on this, but I can probably do this a better way. Of course you're not going to give me that. For some reason, after a certain period of time, I'm unable to do type resolution or type name completion in here, which gets quite annoying when I'm trying to do generic lists. And for each object, argument list.add. And then so version text and tags text goes up there. Version text and tags text need to be defined before I can do any kind of adding to the thing, but I'll create this first before I start adding stuff to it. And then so this will set that up, and now instead of setting dependency text, okay, yeah, that's not gonna work. Come on. There's no good way to do this. It's clean. I think the way I had it is like the only way that makes sense, I guess. Because I don't think that you can add null to these. Oh, you can. Okay, that's fine. add this to the argument list here. It's dependency text next. What is next in the original? No, license URI text is next. It's the only problem is that the order of operations here matters. Man, I thought it was going to be clever. It's not really going to save much at all. Oh well. Then it's project URI text. So argument list add project URI text. And then it is the icon URI text. And icon URI text. And then all right, so that creates a nice little this also needs to be done before this is called up here. Oh, something tells me that trying to do this the XML way would have been prettier. But now we do that up there, so we can get rid of that piece now. So can you use a list? Doesn't work. Can I do toArray on that? Bam! Alright, that'll work. Alright, so assuming that I haven't royally messed up the order on this, the idea is that it'll return this this format string formatted with what's in this argument list, which is a list that we're creating, and I'm kind of cheating and saving some time by escaping a whole bunch of these strings that are already defined, and then doing some adds here, and it seems as though I can do this. I just need to make sure that this works with. Yeah, okay, good. So that should basically take care of those. Hopefully, anyways. This would be really tough to test because I need to resolve PS data. Can I do that with something simple? I can do it with just a module. Alright, so let me go into my one here, which will, I'm gonna clear out my current session. So this should import all of my functions into this, except I haven't saved this. Let me just, yeah. All right. So let's get a module to play with. So I'm going to create PS. I'm going to put this up in here anyways. This will be PS data equal mods 0, which is what do we have in mod 0? Editor services command suite. Good, that'll be a fun one to test with. So then we can do resolve PS data module, and then I need to come on, process this. For whatever reason, it's not letting me do F8 on this. There we go. Just took its sweet time. And then get new spec contents module equal mods 0 PS data PS data. Just make sure this one runs on its own. PS data should have all that good stuff in it. And then get new spec contents. Yep, editor services, Patrick, owners community. So we put this as a company on that. Let's see. Yep. All right, just making sure it wasn't randomly picking something. Description, collection of editor commands, that looks good. Release notes, that looks good. Require license acceptance, false. Copyright, it's got that. Tags look correct. License URL looks correct. Project URL looks correct. Dependencies looks correct. Awesome. So that looks like it did everything. I'm kind of surprised it didn't have issues. Um, but the things that we don't want to be there, such as the let's try another one just for fun. Yeah, so this one looks like it was Module Builder, and it is a beta. So we actually got the beta beta version resolved properly. Owners, posh code, that looks right. Description, release, it doesn't require that. License URI. Does he actually have a license on that? Am I like weird that I'm not putting a license? I guess I am putting a license, never mind. Scratch that. Yeah. Looks good. That's what the thing should be doing. So we've got that done, so we just need to clean up in here a little bit. Just clean up any of the extra spaces. So now we've made this much cleaner. And again, we want this to basically just tell a story, like, you know, resolve the module, resolve PS data, get new spec contents, set new spec contents, pack module, right? So like, we want this one to be kind of like a high level story. We don't want it to do any logic because it's just gluing commands together. That's its one thing that it does, is glue commands together. We want the commands that it does glue together to do all the logic for us, all of our error handling, all of it. So it does result in quite a bit of private functions being created, but it looks like it's pretty decent. So what I'm going to do is just, I don't know, see where this goes with a module that we pass in, and just see if it works. So let me just save this. I'm going to restart the PowerShell session again. Go back to my testy thing here. Import all the things. Run this. Wait for it to think about running it, rather. Try furiously again to run it. There we go. And go back in here. And I want to, and I have to call this in here. I need to do something to kind of set this up so I can repeat this. Normally I would be building the module, but since this is kind of a prereq for my build module, we're kind of a chicken and egg thing here, so I'm just going to bypass that with some Alright, so that'll ensure that that's in there. Let's comment out a lot of this stuff that I was testing earlier. And I want to set a breakpoint. If I go to debug, do I have any breakpoints? Yeah. clear all breakpoints, set a new breakpoint inside here. And I'll just set it right at the very first one so we can step through everything. Watch it. Let's go to our temporary file. We're fake building this module. Let's get some modules. So we'll copy in this code. And then we'll just do alright. So we've done that, so we're going to go into our debugger here and see which one we're on. Launch file, a temporary console. Save this. It's going to get some errors that I have to pass through because something's weird in my environment right now. I haven't quite figured out why. Keeps trying to run a conda. Why did it take away my... What? Come on. Publish. You cannot validate the argument on parameter destination path. Oh, interesting. So I've got something wrong with my resolution here. Oh, I need to have a destination path. That's right. That is quite required. So going back here, destination path, C drive temp, whatever. We'll just try that. And now we'll try debugging again. Okay. Result of true. Okay. I'm not very good at my validation scripts because I try not to do them all that often. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Anyways, I have to go back in that file. So where is the validation script for that? If not, test path else true. Save that, and need to reset this breakpoints. Go back into the temp file and try again. Hit the breakpoint. That's good. So we're going to step into step in here, and then I'm going to step into that one. I'm going to step over this because I don't want to resolve, I don't want to go into resolve PS data, but PS data should now have a whole bunch of stuff in it, and it does. That's good. Is it not listed here? Input object, PS data. Yep, there it is. Stuff's in it. And then new spec contents. We're going to step into it, and then step in, step over, step over, step over, step over, step over, step over, step over. Just keep stepping over some stuff. I don't want to go into any of the things here. All right, so let's look at the argument list array here. It looks pretty solid. I don't think that this new spec is actually gonna work because it didn't set it as like script. Maybe not. Maybe it will. We'll see. I mean, it should be in the list here, right? Local script. Elemento. Yeah, so it's there. Maybe it'll work. Let's try stepping into it just to see. Okay. Let's step into new spec contents. All right, this is what I care about, is new spec contents. And it looks good. It looks like it's got everything in it, so awesome. So that's a good stopping point for today. Got this in a pretty good spot. We're building out the new spec, so the next steps are basically to build a staging area for the contents of the module, populate the new spec file in that staging area, and then perform a NuGet pack. So that's really all the pieces that are left of this. The next pieces are not that hard, not that difficult, don't have a whole lot of weird logic to them, but we'll see how we get to those. And anyways, I'm going to sign off for the night, and I thank you for watching. I hope to see you back. I'll catch you on the VOD. And oh yeah, new thing, I did set up a Patreon, so if you are in the mood to throw a few bucks my way or whatever, you can check me out. It's Marky Kraus, the Patreon, same as everybody else, right? Link is on my Twitch page. If you're crazy about doing that. I had some fun setting up the tiers on that, so there's like, they're all based off of PowerShell versions. So like PowerShell 2.0 tier is the $2 a month tier. And PowerShell 5.1 is $5.10 a month, right? So anyways, not expecting much of that, but I do produce some open source content for the community that people do use. I provide services and all that kind of stuff. So if you appreciate the work I do, then go ahead and throw a few bucks my way. I'm not going to plug this every single time. This is the first time I'm streaming since I set it up, so I figured I'd mention it. And I'm doing it at the end of my stream instead of at the beginning. So don't expect me to be shoving this down your throat or putting up all kinds of stuff, but if you do donate, your name will flash across the screen, so that's good stuff. In any case, I'm going to sign off now. I thank you for watching, catch you on the VOD, and I hope to see you back.